come back to the Turkish economy now. Joining us now is Professor Dr. Kuan Powell from Özyeğin University to discuss the fast-moving consumer goods sector in Turkey. Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
First of all, let's begin by talking where this sector, the FMCG, stands in Turkey, first of all.
Okay, well, on to some better news. The fast-moving consumer goods sector in Turkey has come off on a record year in 2010. Most firms making profits over 10%, one-third over 20%. In the broader perspective of things, Turkey is what we call a stage 3 market. So you have a rising income of the middle class, a lot of people move beyond needs to wants. Global retailers are having an increasing prevalence, but there's a lot of competition from excellent regional players as well. So what we are seeing right now is that Turkey is on par with, for instance, Brazil and Poland. What we're not seeing yet, but what is to come maybe in the next year, is what we call a stage 4 market like Germany, where there's a lot more hard discounters, which is already starting to become true in Turkey, with BİM being the biggest supermarket right now. And also basically more specialization. So the people that don't buy on price, a lot of Turkish consumers are very price sensitive.
Yes.
They love convenience, so we see a far more greater specialization as we move forward. In this market. One big opportunity is the fact that there's very little consolidation in the Turkish sector in terms of retailing. So the top 5 retailers in Turkey only have about 18% of the market. So compare that with my native country, Belgium, with 75%, for instance.
I was going to say, it seems like a very small number. Is that, I mean...
it is, and these are huge retailers. So we have Migros, Metro, Carrefour, and so forth. But only 18% of the market. So I just expect to see a lot more consolidation. It also means that the top retailers have a lot more potential for further penetration of the market in Turkey. On the other hand, for suppliers, that's good news because they're not faced yet with very powerful big retailers like they are in Germany or the US. So there's a lot of potential for suppliers to suggest certain marketing campaigns and tactics that are very beneficial to them without having to cater to the retailers as much as in other countries.
How often is it that the market is so open for new investment? I mean, as you said, in Belgium it's such a large number, in Turkey it's such a small number. Is this quite expected, and are we expecting this to grow and grow? I mean...
we're still expecting a lot of growth in this market. So when I came here a few years ago from the US, I called this the Far East because it was, retailers and manufacturers were very much focused on growth versus profitability. So if I study marketing effectiveness, so I tell people how to run a good price promotion or an ad campaign. But they would typically say to me, if I want to make more money, I'll just open another store in rural Turkey or in Russia and so forth. So there was a lot of kind of focus on sales growth. Right now, a lot of people have seen that it's challenging to actually make profits in Turkey. So the balance has shifted into also caring for profitability and efficiency, which is now a growing kind of sector in Turkey.
Well, is Turkey a preferred destination compared to other regions? I mean, because of where it's located, it's a very good location. Are we preferred compared to other countries?
The location is excellent. It doesn't matter that much for fast-moving consumer goods, though, as compared to, for instance, automobiles. So about 1/4 of the companies actually use Turkey also as a springboard for Middle East, Eastern Europe too. But most of the companies see Turkey for a very large domestic demand, growing income. So they're mostly interested in Turkey for itself in fast-moving consumer goods. And so in that respect, Turkey is a net importer of goods now, specifically also in fast-moving consumer goods. And I think it needs to do a better job in branding its products to the outside world. So things like the hazelnut are, very kind of much in focus, but also things like cherries, about which I teach a case study at Özyeğin University, or for instance Turkish olive oil, are things that are undervalued abroad and that could receive more marketing.
Why are they not so much doing like other brands? I mean, okay, hazelnut, yes, we see it everywhere now. It's one of the major things we see when we're flying in Turkish Airlines. But can you give us some more information about the case study, for example, or why, or what else can we do about Turkey that can make it more investing in other exports?
Okay, well, it's an engineering mentality. I recognize that from Belgium, I would say. So Turkish businesses have been very much focused on quality. Everybody's ISO certified, so the quality is excellent. It's just that to become a brand in another country, you also have to get the perception of consumers. Olive oil is a perfect example. So I buy Italian olive oil in the States because that's what everybody buys there. But if you look at the can, 30% of the olive oil actually comes from Turkey. So some of the case studies focus on how, for instance, Turkish olive oil producers can try to build a brand in Europe or in the States. And it takes some investment, but you also get a lot higher margin and profit from doing so. So it's really kind of moving from, hey, the quality of a product is fantastic, to we also want it to be fantastic in the eyes of the consumer also abroad.
And it's actually a very good example because the olive oil, I mean, it's very, very tasty, I want to say, but it's very high quality. And I know that whenever a foreigner comes to Turkey, they always talk about how good the olive oil is. So it's one of those key elements that could be used abroad, I think. Let's talk about cost in terms of this sector, because especially here, not only manufacturing costs, I mean, manufacturing costs are not as high as we expect it to be, but it's more about distributing. I think that's very important.
Exactly. And well, the infrastructure in Turkey is very good. So if you compare it to another country that is kind of seeing the same growth like Russia, it's just much easier to get goods in faraway cities and towns in Turkey than it is in Russia, for instance. So the infrastructure is there. I think so what a lot of growth comes from is that there's still a large part of the population that is served by what we call bakkals in Turkey, so the mom and pop stores. So you will see that the percentage of revenue there will decrease to the benefit of bigger retailers that have a more, I would say, professional management to kind of incorporate this rising and changing taste of the middle class.
Because I think also the bakkals are kind of, it seems like they're disappearing. Although you're saying they have quite a big market, it seems because of this, maybe, is this one of the reasons that they're going, we're seeing less and less of them?
Well, I would say that the Turkish consumer, which is fascinating because people are typically very brand sensitive and price sensitive in this country, which is one of the reasons, for instance, that private labels of the retailers haven't really taken off yet, I think. That the Turkish consumer is willing more and more, just like people in the US and for instance, Germany, to visit more than one store. So you would go to a hard discounter like BIM for your basic needs, but then you would go to Migros for the great brands, and you would go to your bakkal late at night, because of the convenience and because they're open so late. And maybe because you know the store owner personally. So there's lots of different benefits. And I think that that in the Turkish business, more and more you have the specialization. So people should not try to be everything for everyone. They should clearly define their target customer and know that that customer needs them for very specific things, which they should then offer most excellently.
What about if we want to talk about the future of this sector here in Turkey, the FMCG? Because I'm sure there are some advantages, but there are also some things that are holding it back. They may be holding it back. What can we say about that?
Well, one of the things holding it back, I think, so it's not the infrastructure, it's really the recognition of the fact that it's really consumer perception that matters. So it's not just good enough to have, for instance, the lowest price, you also have to be seen by consumers as the lowest prices. And the other thing is the fact that, that Turkey is relatively weak in exports in this matter. And so we expect in 2011, 2012 to have a little bit of a slowdown in terms of that banks will start lending a little less. Credit is fantastic now in Turkey, so that is stimulating a lot of businesses. And so that could be holding back. But I see in the future growth. The other thing is, as you mentioned, cost. Costs are not that low in Turkey anymore. I had one manufacturer from Germany joke to me that they will have to move all their German staffers to Turkey because they're soon going to pay people more in Turkey than in Germany.
That would be hilarious,
yes.
seriously. I mean,
so at least at the management level, there's definitely a lot of increasing income. Which so I think Turkey is really a place to be for the large demand, the growing kind of middle class. But I think that the cost will start to rise too very soon.
If we talk about how it's affecting the Turkish economy, I mean, if we talk about the amount of investment there is here, foreign investment, do we have because you said we don't have enough, but do you think there could be enough or more foreign investment coming to Turkey in this sector?
It has been increasing in the last years. I think that there's not enough foreign investment yet in Turkey. So, I mean, for instance, right now, Turkey has excellent, stable economic conditions and has been upgraded by all the rating agencies too. And so people feel that the only reason that there's not investment grade yet is because of some negative perception of the past. So I think there's a great opportunity for people who do recognize both the great growth here and some of the challenges in terms of profitability, and they can really take advantage of this one. So I would say get here before the competition does.
That's a good idea, actually. So actually, there is a lot of, although it's not enough right now, there's a lot of potential to grow in this sense. What about if we take a look at the digits in terms of export revenue? I mean, you did say it's not enough, but can we see how, like, in what kind of percentages, at least, approximately?
Well, let's see. It's now growing. I mean, if you compare, for instance, Poland with Turkey. So Poland has seen a lot of foreign investment. And is still a growth market, but they're obviously maturing. Whereas in Turkey, there's still a lot of growth left. And so I think that the numbers in Turkey should soon be on par with those in Poland. If you look at the kind of numbers that people are making here last year, so 1/3 of the companies, 20% or more sales growth, 1/3 between 10 and 20%, and 1/3 between 0 and 10%. I haven't seen one company that has lost sales within 2010, whether the rest of the world is recovering from a global recession. So I think these numbers look very good for Turkey.
And what about in terms of financial crisis? Because do you think, I guess the Bakkals were kind of hurt a little bit more with the financial crisis, but what about when we talk about bigger markets like Migros or these kind of bigger markets? Was it easier for them to deal with?
I think so. What I saw people doing also when I was talking at conferences, everybody was fearful of the financial crisis. Like in 2009, 2010, I was preparing for it. So, for instance, they kept their employee cost low. In 2009, there was actually lower real wages. And they made good use of that to rationalize their portfolio. So I was asked a lot there to look at profitability and efficiency. So they kind of prepared for a big shock, but the shock never really came in the sector. So they're now in a very good position to keep the efficiency, but then also to be poised for the growth that I'm expecting.
And one last question as we're ending. Just if we take a look at the last couple of years, you said when the next couple of years we have a lot of potential to grow. Has it been well enough in the last 5 decades? I mean, just an overview of how well we've developed.
Oh, well, Turkey has come a long way. So in, let's see, 1954 was the first time that the municipality of Istanbul joined with the Swiss Migros to have the first kind of real supermarket. Then with the opening of the market in the 1980s, then also very other international retailers came in, like Metro and Carrefour. And so we've seen a lot of growth from let's say, the early 90s up to now. So Turkey has come a long way. Right now, and that started from the crisis in 94 in Turkey, we see the growth of hard discounters. So there's much more kind of specialization in the sector. And it looks now more and more of the landscape I'm used to, for instance, in Germany or in the US. What you don't have yet is one big retailer like Walmart in the US. That's what we call the stage 5 market, that can really dictate its terms to suppliers. And so that would create a very much tighter squeeze on profits, which Turkey is still definitely, I think, 5 or 10 years away from.
But we're hoping to see that develop as well.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
And that brings us to the end of our show at Inside Business today. I'm Michael Baardewit. Stay tuned on 6 News.